What is up, everybody? I'm just going to wait a few seconds for people to start trickling in. When you come in, feel free to say hi to us. And the audio sounds good. The lights, all that stuff, check, check, check. So let's get into it. What is up? My name is Param. This is the Family Education and Support Group offered a Buckeye Recovery Network for anyone and everyone who is interested and finds some value in this. A few things about myself before I get into our wonderful guests and introduce them and kind of let you guys know what today's talk is going to be like. I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I am a licensed advanced alcohol and drug counselor. I'm also the chief operating officer of Buckeye Recovery Network. And on a personal level, I am in recovery myself. I've been sober since June 13th of 2008. So in about a month here, if nothing weird happens, I'll be celebrating my 13th birthday, and I'm really grateful for that. So far, you got Counselor Jim giving you a Kobe with exclamation marks. He's really excited. We got Counselor Tony's here, and we got a bunch of families coming. So it's wonderful, man. This is going to get really beneficial for a lot of people. So as you guys are all trickling in, I'll let you know kind of what the intention of this talk is and what we're going to be talking about today. So Kobe is one of our alumni that we are very proud on many different levels. Kobe, a version of Kobe that came to our program initially a few years ago was a man child, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. It was just a person that was unable to be self-sufficient in their own world, was unable to regulate their emotions in their own world, was going through a lot of stuff from trauma from the past that was unresolved. Really having a hard time to find this place, really wanting to be connected back home, but living thousands of miles away in California, and had a lot of issues going on with self-esteem. Kobe, I do know you really better than you think I know you, but I've watched your journey this whole time, and that's who you were, right? And the person sitting right now across us in this moment is no longer a man-child, is actually taking steps to become a man. And what I mean by that is someone that is self-sufficient, someone that is leading other human beings through the process of recovery, someone that is taking care of their mind and their physical body on a daily basis. We see the transformation pictures, Kobe, all the time, so keep that up, please. Someone that is a role model people can look up to, and family members can also trust, right? I mean, there's a level of trust that you've earned back, which I have a feeling when you first came to us the first time around, not many people were saying, hey, we trust the heck out of this kid. It's like, hey, just tell us what's going on. So you become a wonderful asset to put on for us to be able to put on display for all the other family members because they have children like you going through the process. And Amy, you are a warrior, and I mean that by the literal sense, because you have been able to raise your son and then watch him through this process of addictions and recovery and relapse and then recovery again. And you're still here. You're very supportive. I was able to watch you guys in your Christmas pictures this year on social media. And it made my heart so warm to see like the family bond was so strong. And, last 2 weeks ago, Kobe was taking a sobriety milestone, and he was talking about you and talking about the support that you gave him and all that kind of stuff. And he really, I said, hey, maybe we should get you and mom on here. He's like, well, that would be cool. So I took that as like, hey, mom's down, you're down. And here we are now. So all that being said, I'm going to kind of pass it on and ask a few questions. Amy, is that okay to kind of start it off?
Sure.
Sure. And Kobe, just I'll ask you questions as we move forward, okay?
Sounds good to me.
All right, Miss Amy. So the first thing I want to know is, not right now that you got this really good-looking, clean-shaven kid dressed in a nice blue shirt sitting across, but when he was going through the challenges of addiction, and I know it happened from a young age, what was it like for you and the family when Kobe was struggling with addictions?
It was heartbreaking. We went from having a jolly, loving, happy child who loved everyone and loved to hang out and talk with everyone and spend time with everyone to someone who I oftentimes couldn't get out of his room. Or would someone who just took off and didn't want to come to family things anymore, and didn't talk to me anymore. He talked to me when he was growing up. A lot of times it was just him and I. We had the support, of course, of my family, but in the house it was just him and I a lot. And he would always talk to me. He would always talk to me and joke and make me smile. And he was not that kid anymore at all.
Yeah. How long did, when you talk about he wasn't that kid, like when did that start and how long did you experience that loss of kind of Kobe, if you will, or the normalcy of Kobe?
That started, I think it started when he started high school. I started to feel that when he started high school. And
Okay.
we had a lot of changes at home. I had remarried and we had his little brother, and he was older. He was getting ready to start high school when his little brother was born. So we had changes at home, and he started to withdraw a bit, and I thought it was because of all the changes at home. We didn't expect to have another child, and it was a surprise for everybody. So I thought he was having a hard time dealing with that. And it could have been because it was around the same time I started to notice some changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kobe, does that, the timeline that your mom's talking about from you being this, someone that was almost like your mom's, like in a way, like best friend, but confidant, someone that, you made her laugh, you made her smile. And I'm sure she did the same thing for you, to go from there to like 13, 14 years old, starting to withdraw, isolate, not coming out of your room, disengaging from family stuff. Does that match your timeline? And if so, kind of what was going on in your world when all that was happening?
So it does for sure. I feel like more of when I was, so I went to a private school until 8th grade. And then I think 8th grade is when or 7th grade, I went and played public football. And I was always on the older kids team because I was a bigger child. I started to learn about some things that I didn't think I would ever learn about. Being in a sheltered school, you don't really get to learn those kind of things. And then I went to high school and it was all downhill from there. And I was very upset that my mom had gotten pregnant because we had spent so much time being by ourselves, but it was more of a inconsiderate, self-centered behavior because of being so close with my mom. I thought she wasn't going to love me like she used to, but it's not like that at all. It's just my thinking.
Yeah, I know you're obsessed with your little brother too. You always
yeah.
You're obsessed with him.
Yeah.
I have to take off my interview hat right now and put on my marriage and family therapy with an emphasis in child development hat. It wasn't selfish and self-centered for you at the time to think that way, man. You were a child, right? So the same way you look at your brother and he's younger and he's innocent and his brain is kind of seeing the world for the first time, you were also going through the same thing. So it wasn't selfish and self-centered. And one thing I've noticed with you and just with a lot of people, sometimes we're really hard on ourselves and judge ourselves for the things that we've done in our lives. And I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with a kid getting even jealous for the fact that mom is about to have another kid, because that kid's going to take away time from them. They're going to fear that their attachment is going to be gone. They're going to fear that they're all of a sudden going to be number two and this, that. Well, none of it's true. It didn't really impact your relationship with your mom as we see right now, but in the mind of a child, all those things are true. So don't be so hard on yourself there. My codependency came in and I had to rescue that from that thought. So, Amy, when did you know that it was bad to the point? So obviously behaviors change. That's always the first sign, right? But when did you know that it was actually substances? And when did you know that the substances were bad enough that you said, oh, we got to do something about this?
Well, Kobe had gotten in trouble when he was younger, about the time that he was supposed to get his driver's license. I had been awakened in early morning hours with some police officer knocking on our front door, that he was at a home in Indiana, just a short drive from our house. He was drunk at a party, and I needed to come pick him up. So I thought, it still feels like it was a dream, because I never, ever, ever, ever thought that I would get that, ever. So I went and picked him up, and we were driving home, and he was just wasted. He was just, I don't know, maybe 14 or 15 wasted. And he says, I've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been smoking pot for a while too. And I don't even know how I drove home, because my mind was blown. I didn't even know. I was just, but when you're young, when I was young, I did things, we were young, we partied, whatever. So I kind of chalked part of that up to being young. You know, he was with friends. I didn't really like those friends. His friends probably made him do, you know. But it was several years later when actually my brother approached me and told me he needed to talk to me and told me that Kobe had opened up to him and was taking substances that were a lot more serious than marijuana and alcohol. And I didn't know. I knew something was going on, but I didn't know it was that. I didn't know it was substances like that. So at that time,
high school? Was he still in high school at this time?
No, this was after high school. Okay. This is after high school. High school was rough. Okay. High school was rough. And he ended up going through an alternative program as opposed to a traditional high school program, but did get his diploma. Praise the Lord. I did not think that was going to happen. So that was a great thing. But it was, he had opened up to my brother because he felt that he could open up to my brother and not me. So my brother came to me and told me what was going on. Another shocker.
So then you guys at this point made the decision, coming from a small town, you made the decision to say, okay, we got to do something about this because it's, you know, getting more serious than just the typical party stuff or the experimental stuff that people do with pot and alcohol when they're younger. And what was that decision like for you and your family to say, we got to get him out of here and send him to treat? Is this when he came to Buckeye for the first time? Yeah.
Well, no, he went to a program here in our home state, not too far from us. He went to a program there, a rehab. Mm-hmm. And so we went to see, you know, we'd go visit him there, and he went through things there. And then we went to a sober living facility after he left there in Detroit. Okay. And he didn't really like it very much. He didn't like where it was positioned. It was far away from the downtown area. He didn't have a car. He didn't have his license. And he didn't like being there. So he came home. He came home. And I don't think it really stuck, did it, son? No.
So Kobe, how long that first time around that you went to a local treatment facility in a sober living community, how long did it stick for you before you went back home?
So I went to it's called Skywood Recovery in Augusta, Michigan. It's about 35, 40 minutes from my hometown. Then I went to a sober living in the suburb of, I can't even remember, but it's a nice suburb of Detroit, probably 2.5 hours away. I lived there for 3 months at 17 years old. It wasn't for me. I think the most fun I had was going out with this guy named Carter. We would go out and have fun. I've talked to Carter. He's doing well. He's been sober for almost however time from when I was 17 years old. I don't remember the year, but I went home, and it probably lasted three weeks, not even. Okay. I started hanging out with the old people, you know, started smoking weed in the beginning. Then weed went to drinking. Then drinking went to my drug choice. Yeah.
And then, so Amy, take me through the time that he came to Buckeye for the first time. When was that?
That was a few years ago. He had gone to rehab in Georgia. Okay. And he had approached us again. Some things had happened at home at the Christmas holidays that told us this was dead. Here we go again. But he needed to go somewhere else, somewhere where we couldn't visit every weekend. He needs to go farther away. So he went to Georgia for rehab that time. And then when it got time for him to get ready to be released to a sober living, they talked to him about your program out there. Okay. And we went back and forth because it's far, right? It's far from where we are. And he didn't know anybody. And so we went back and forth and finally decided, why not?
Was that a hard decision for you guys to
say? Yeah. So when I was about to leave, though, I was like, Mom, I'm going to come home. And she says, no. I was like, what? You know, so I think that was the first point where my mom was like putting her foot down, which I was never used to. I was never used to that at all. You know, because of what I went through as a child and the things my mom and I went through together. I feel like she just wanted to accommodate me in any way she could. And then she finally put her foot down. And with the help of my stepdad doing that, I went to the Ohio House. But I would have never came here if two guys that were leaving the Black Bear Lodge were going to the same place. I probably wouldn't have went here.
You guys, was that a hard decision to say, hey, we're going cross country with it? Or was that a difficult family decision?
It was, but it almost, I was so afraid for him to come back to this area because there was nothing good going on. His friends he was not with the right group of friends. There was nothing good going on for him here. So almost part of me said, yeah, go away, go farther away, find to another place, a brand new spot, and see what that's like.
So I do remember this. So this is a few years ago now. And when Kobe, you came out here, I know you stayed here was it close to a year?
Yeah, 13 months, I think.
Yeah, I remember the first time. So this is just for you guys watching right now. I know there's some people here. A lot of people, by the way, are saying how thank you so much for sharing and how strong both of you guys are. But so Kobe was here. He went through our program. He completed our ILP program. Was living in the sober livings that we associate with the Ohio House, and he even started working. It was at the Balboa place, right? Yeah, he started working in a restaurant and started kind of being a proud member of society and all that kind of stuff like that. And it came a point that after 13 months of like, hey, am I going to stay here? Am I going to go back home to where my mom is, my family is, my brother is, my sense of my people are, my tribe is? And tell me about that decision for you guys to say, hey, after 13 months of sobriety, Kobe's going to come back home. First, I want to hear from Mom, Kobe, but then I want to hear from you, because then I want to know also, more importantly, what happened after you came home, because this version that we're talking to right now that just celebrated a year of sobriety again, it wasn't continuous because something happened back home. So let's talk, Amy, with the decision for him to come back home after 13 months. Walk us through it.
He told me on the phone, I remember him telling me on the phone, I want to come home. And my first thought was no. My first thought was no, it's not going to work. I was afraid. Okay, I said, who are you going to hang out with? Where are you going to go to meetings? We don't have that large community of meetings here that he was used to. We don't have a large amount of much of anything here. So I was very worried about that. I thought, okay, you're not going to have a good, solid group of sober friends. So that might lead you to sit in your room and not go out and do stuff that you should be doing at your age. And that's going to cause you to do this. And this is going to happen. And this and this. And I stressed out, like majorly stressed out about it. And I spoke to my husband about it. And it was actually, he told me, you know what? He says, you can't keep him sober.
Yeah.
So he's going to, if he moves home, it's on him to find sober friends. It's on him to go to meetings. This isn't something that you can make work for him. And that was very hard. That was very hard because I was used to just trying to fix everything for him and make it good for him.
Very good advice that your husband, Kobe's stepfather, your husband, which Kobe calls dad too, right? This is in that regards. Yeah. You have a good positive relationship. I know that. It's really good advice and very powerful for everyone to hear that as much as you love your kid, I think Chad's mom a few weeks ago said sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes as much as you love your kid, you can't create a program of recovery for a human being if they're not willing to do it. So once he came home and you realize, okay, he's back home now. He looks great. He's been sober for 13 months. He's obviously made some progress. People at Buckeye and Ohio House have said great things about him. What was it like to see him back again? And then when did he realize like, oh shit, like this is something here might not have been the best decision?
Well, okay, so he was back doing well, going to meetings, such as it is. He had a few friends that he had a friend that had been out in California doing the same kind of thing, a rehab and sober living, who was from here. Okay. So he was hanging out with friends that I was like, okay, awesome. This is going well. This is good. But it's hard balance, right? Because I'm asking all the time, where are you going? Who are you with? When are you going to be home? Who's going to be there? And he's well over the age where I should be doing that. And I wouldn't have been doing that if he was not an addict and sober. So inside myself, I'm struggling because I shouldn't be acting that way. I don't want to be bugging my son, who's well over the age of majority, about this. But he was working, doing okay. Everything's going okay. I felt like we were watching him really closely. Whether he felt that or not, I don't know, but I felt like we were watching him closely. Yeah, probably. And I kind of had blinders on. I think at some point then I was like, okay, everything's going to be okay. He's handling this. He's doing it. We're cool. This thing is over now. Yeah. And so I didn't notice a few things. I didn't pick up on them right away. And my husband actually again said, I don't think something's right. Kobe was working, holding down a job. He'd gotten his license, was driving, everything. I don't think something's right. And so then we had to have that discussion, and then Kobe had a discussion with me. Kobe's behavior, I realized, was really not kosher. It was not good. He was flying off the handle. He was back to the behavior was a problem again.
Okay. And when did you know that it was to the point that, oh my gosh, we got to do something about this again?
He told me. Okay. He told me. I was taking him to work, and he'd been acting crazy. Like he was crying, yelling. I mean, just so erratic.
Erratic. Yeah.
And I had taken him to work, and we were in the car in the parking lot, and he was getting ready to go into work. And he just told me everything. I'm doing this, and this, and this. I've been doing this, and I can't do this anymore. I'm miserable. I can't do this anymore. Okay. And I said, okay, then here we go. We're going to do this again.
Okay. Kobe, when you decided to go back the first time around after having 13 months of sobriety, were you going with the intention of like, I'm going to do everything I have to do to maintain this and do it out there? Like, was your mindset in the right place? And despite of that, you were unable to, or did you already have your mind made up that you're trying to get out of the sober community?
So I think it was more of the fact of I was working and my mom had to help support me out here. And it was getting to the point where I needed to start paying. So I just got afraid, and I was like, well, I'm just going to move back home. I don't make enough money. I can survive at home. It's cheaper in Michigan. So I moved back home. It took a little bit to talk to my mom about it. We had to figure out how to get all my stuff, all this and that. And then I finally I was like, well, I'm going to buy a plane ticket. And I did. I went home, started working. And I think I had reservations. You know what I mean? Like I had a boss at the barbecue that I would go hang out with, and he would smoke weed in front of me, and I'm like, all right, that's cool or whatever. But then just being there around it, seeing what it's doing to him, I'm like, well, I miss that. I can smoke weed. I'll be fine. I've smoked weed since I was 8 years old. So, so I went home and I didn't smoke in the beginning, and then I met this girl, and she had already been using methamphetamines before I met her, and I didn't know. And then from there, it just went downhill. And I wasn't going out. I was working, and if I did go out, I come home late at night. I fell down the stairs a few times. I'm surprised my parents didn't hear. It was just like that end cycle of what happens. But being sober and then going home and relapsing and doing it again, it was like 100 million times worse than I ever thought it was going to be. You know what I mean?
How long were you in relapse mode before reaching out to your mom and letting her know, hey, I got to do something about this?
13 months.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you had 13 months of sobriety with us, and then you went out there and you had 13 months of, well, how long did it take? So the whole 13 months you're relapsing back home?
No. So I was home, and then, well, it's probably like 11 months I was relapsing, but so I was home for a month and a half, and then I met this girl named Ashton, and then that's when it went down. But when my mom was saying I came to her, I remember that day. I'll always remember that day. That was the day that God came into my life again. We were on the way to work. Granted, she was driving me to work, she said, because I had just bought a car and I rolled it. about having it for 2 months. By the way, I don't remember buying the car at all. I went all the way to Pennsylvania to get it. Don't remember any of it. So I rolled my car. My mom was taking me to work. It was a bad weekend. I was hanging out with a few people that I love and care about, because I had a feeling that something was going to happen. And that Monday I woke up, did my thing, that my morning ritual, most addicts have. I was like, I'm ready to go to work. And then something like on the way there, I just started breaking down. I was like, Mom, I'm not going to work. I cannot work today. And then finally, like, God came into my mouth and was like, Mom, I'm just tired of smoking meth in your basement. I need help, And then I was on a plane the next day. Literally. Yeah. It was so faster than I ever thought it was going to happen.
It had to be fast though, right? So, I mean, it had to be fast. Like we couldn't waste I didn't want to waste any time. Like it had to go. Like it had to happen.
Yeah. I lost from just working and using drugs. I was losing weight. I wasn't eating. I was barely home. And when I was home, I was in my room, and then I was just getting high in my room without my parents knowing. They might have known, but I guess I had learned how to hide it from the people that I lived with. And sober living, I guess some things you learn, and I just took it upon myself to do that, and I didn't get caught until I couldn't handle it anymore and I had to open up.
Yeah, well, I mean, the closer you are, Kobe, to somebody, sometimes the eyes don't see the details. It's kind of if you stand in front of a really beautiful painting, you might not see all the intricacies and all the details of it, but the further you get from it, the more blatantly obvious it is. And that usually happens at home especially with the love of a mom or a parent and the power of this world called denial. I mean, there's certain things that are reality. We don't want to reinforce it with our eyes because sometimes it's too painful. Sometimes we don't even see it. But so there's a lot that goes in there. Some of it you were hiding, but it goes a little bit. It's much deeper than that, So your main reason to go back home was financial insecurity, financial fear, maybe some reservations, but you wanted to go back to kind of be more self-sufficient. And if you look back now, if you go back to, before making the decision to go back home, do you think knowing what you know now about resourcefulness and reaching out and asking for help and finding ways to overcome something like financial insecurity or financial fear, do you think there were ways that you could have found solutions to not go back home and get creative and be able to stay here? Do you think like looking back now in hindsight?
Oh yeah. Like I was in the process of getting my license out here. I got Chris Winter, our old director of operations, asked if I'd be interested in house managing when I lived out here the last time. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'll just work to get my license. And then it was taking so long. And I said, I could just go home and get my license, So then I was like, well, I'm just going to go home. I run from my jobs all the time. So I just ran home. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It seems like there was some lack of patience or lack of kind of just sitting through and just saying, hey, let me see what I could do, or let me see who I can ask for help. Let me see what I can do. Because like you were saying, your mom was supporting you. But here's the thing, like as we move on in life, the people we get support from and the way we receive support, that also has to evolve. So that's the importance of developing your sober social support network, developing peers in recovery, people you can lean on, people you can ask for help. And I know majority of us, when we were new, we don't like asking for help, but sometimes that's the difference of sometimes living and dying, man. That's the difference of staying sober and going on a sick run that you don't remember driving to multiple states to purchase a vehicle. The differences are in those details. So now you're back with us. You came back. What's your sobriety date?
March 4th of 2020.
So March 4th of 2020, right before the pandemic kicked in full effect, right? Yeah. A few weeks later, you probably wouldn't have been able to get on an airplane, by the way. You never know.
No, I was in detox when it was starting to really hit. And then when I got out of detox, like 3 days later, California shut down and I was inside for 2.5 months. Didn't go outside.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was because literally after he left, I remember within that week to 10 days, it started being on the news and airlines started, places started shutting down. And I said, oh my, if this had been, a little bit longer, just a few more days to a week, he would not have been able to get out there.
100%.
Yeah.
I remember actually seeing Kobe when he first got here, like the first few days he got here. I actually saw you. I don't know if you remember, but I did see you over there. Yeah. And I was like, man, this guy just got off an airplane. These airports are freaking me out a little bit. I don't know how close I should get to Kobe right now. I wanted to give him a big hug, but I was like, yeah, I'm watching too much news to give him a big hug right now. Yeah, something along those lines. But yeah, Braden just said that was God's timing. Yeah, one could say that. So 13 months later, I know, Kobe, what was different for you this time around? You don't have to get into the details of it, but I do know something that you, there was areas of your story, recovery, trauma history, all that kind of stuff. Because I heard you share at the Celebrate Sobriety that I know you didn't work on in the previous time around. And this time around, I know you worked on some trauma with like EMDR. Tell me how addressing your trauma has helped you in your life.
So addressing my trauma, my mom didn't know a whole lot about the trauma. There were some things she knew, but a lot of stuff I didn't tell her. I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want anything to happen. My stepdad is very protective as well, and I didn't want any troubles with what my biological father and my stepdad. I was just trying to people please like I've done my whole life. So I came out the second time and I said, this is like probably a very big underlying reason why I still use drugs and alcohol. Like, it's just simple. You know what I mean? Like, I could say I'm over it, but like, am I truly over it? My body hasn't fully processed the whole trauma situation that went on for 6.5 years with my biological father. So I talked to Sarah and I was like, I want to try EMDR. I've read about it. I've seen it. And I did a few sessions and it was amazing. And then I did a couple more and like, now I don't even think about it. That's in the past. The only thing that was brought from my biological father was me. And I'm happy with that. I always wanted a relationship with my real dad, but there would never been one. So I just had to like really like, it's like maybe like hard to say, but like suck it up and like realize that that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I need to move on with my life, but it is a driving force to me to never be like that person ever.
Yeah. I avoid using the word I'm proud of you because sometimes it sounds condescending or sometimes it sounds like, not demeaning, but, you don't really want to say that in a therapeutic setting to somebody. But I do want you to know that not myself, the entire family of Buckeye is very proud of you for facing your trauma and working on it. Because here's the thing, a lot of us actually do have a lot of traumas in our lives, but not many people are actually willing to say, hey, if I don't work on this, I'm going to continue relapsing. I'm going to continue using. I'm going to continue having poor self-esteem. I'm going to continue having trust issues in my life. And I'm going to have this and this and this and this. So you worked on it. And here you are right now. It's again, it's 14 months later, right?
Yeah.
14 months later. So just so everyone knows that he had 13 months, went out for about 11 months, came back. And the time that he went out was he moved back home, and it has nothing to do with his home system. It just happened to do with lack of sober social support network and group that was available and accessible to him the way he had in his recovery community. The reason he went back home wasn't just because he was homesick. It was fear. It was rooted in fear, financial insecurity, doubt if he can make it on his own. And family, I mean, his mom's been his best friend his whole dang life. So, of course, she's going to say, well, yeah, if you're more comfortable here, we'll have you come back under our roof. My husband will take care of you. We'll do what we did. We're proud of you. So that everybody was on the same page. I mean, I'm sure if you asked a few counselors, I know you were out of the program at that point, but a few counselors probably would have guided you, and maybe not that's too soon of a decision because of the obvious reasons that you experienced. But Amy, so right now you see this handsome man sitting next to us over there talking. What's it like what's different between this time of him getting the same sober time as last time? So tell me what's different, like tangibly different. And then also, how has your life changed since this recovery process?
Well, it sounds so trite. I know him. Okay. So I know when something's off. I know when he's not being fully present, when he's not fully opening. And like just talking to him now, I talk to him probably every day. I think we talk to each other. He's not like I've ever heard him before. And it's been consistent since you've been back out there. He had some questions. Should he continue to stay out there? Should he move back here? I knew what would probably be the best thing for him, but I gave him my opinion and told him it's your decision. You have to decide. You weigh it all out. We always say make a pros and cons list and then go from there. And I didn't want to, influence his decision, but I think he's decided, this is where I need to be. This is where my support is. This is where and inside I'm like, yay, because it's hard. It's very hard to be far away from him. It's very hard. He's not, the rest of our family is right here within a 15-mile radius. Okay. But he's very far away, and that's very, very hard. But I would rather miss him every day and have that little part of my heart that's outside with him than have him here and not be flourishing, because he's flourishing and he's living his best life. And that's all. What else could I want for my child? What else could I want for him but what he has now? When he came home at Christmas, it was awesome because he was he was himself. He was the Kobe, the Kobe that he always was and always meant to be. And I think it was kind of funny because he ended up, through a string of weather-related stuff, getting stuck here longer than he anticipated. And at the time, I think you added like 2 or 3 days to your stay, and he was ready to get out of here. Like, he was ready to get back to his friends and back to he was ready to go.
Sure.
And that never, ever, ever, he would have been, that never would have been that way before. So that tells me a lot. That tells me a lot.
And how are you doing in general? Just you've been through like I said, you're a warrior, man. This has been a long journey since he's been a child. You've been his roll dog, his you guys have been his sidekick, if you will, and to watch him go through the ups and downs and right now doing well. Just how does that impact you personally?
Interesting. I take a lot of the decisions that I made and the way that I raised Kobe didn't do him any favors. I protected him from a lot of things. I felt I was protecting him. I was used to protecting him. And in doing that, I kind of blurred. The boundary was blurred between me as his parent and him as my child. So, and I didn't allow him to establish a good boundary with my husband when we were first married. I protected him.
Yeah.
I protected him. I always did. And it didn't do him any favors. And moving through this whole process from my side, I've come to examine more of my issues with boundaries, and not just with Kobe, but with other people and other members of my family, and just in general how I move in the world. So it's taught me a lot about myself as a
Sounds
person.
Like it. That's a lot of beautiful insight, and I'll tell you why. Because the same way Kobe said when you got pregnant again and was about to have a brother, he said it was really selfish and self-centered for him to feel X, Y, and Z, but that's an adult of him looking back now as a child. Well, I'll tell you this, parents are the same way. So you were also going through something for the first time in your life. You were going through getting remarried and starting a new family, and for the first time, and not knowing how to do it. So the same way that we have compassion for children for not knowing, I always have compassion for your younger self, the previous version of Amy that didn't know any better. Like at the time, you did what you thought you had to do, and you did it to your best of your ability, which meant protecting and meant shaping and helping, whatever it was that you were doing, So have some compassion for yourself there. It sounds like you do. It sounds like you've learned that lesson. And but yeah, this is a beautiful family journey right here. So Kobe, what about you, man? Last but not least, and I'm going to put up some comments and some questions so you guys can read here together too. But what about you? What's it like different this time than the last time? As it relates to your family too, like not just with yourself, but with your family.
Okay. So I guess I'll start with my family first. I have my grandfather is a very important person in my life today, and I can call him and talk to him just about a regular conversation instead of asking him for anything that I want. And it used to never be like that. So me and my grandfather have a really good relationship. He gives me some of the best advice I've ever asked for. My grandma, Terry, who is sitting next to my mom right now, would never in a million years decide to leave her hometown and come visit her grandson in a different state because of what state I was in. And that's cool. And so is my Aunt Leisha and my two cousins. Like my aunt would never bring them around me, just to travel. I was very erratic, and you just never knew what you were going to get from me at all. And I remember going to family get-togethers and sleeping the whole time after I ate, didn't spend time with them. They would just see me sleeping off in the corner. So I guess my relationship with my family is great. My stepdad and I, my dad, used to butt heads very hard. I remember when I was 10 years old, he caught me smoking a pack of cigarettes that I stole from my mom. And from that day, I was like, yep, I don't like him. So today, me and Aaron have a really good relationship. I don't talk to him as much as I should be. I need to work on that. But when I do talk to him, it's genuine. And I tell him I love him. And I never used to do that before. at all. Me and my little brother talk on a daily basis. I don't want to bother them, but like I think the main reason why I do that is because I lost so much time. I was never there. You know, I would be gone for weeks at a time, and my mom and my family wouldn't know where I was at. You know, so I call my mom every day. You know, my mom lost a lot of sleep over me. My mom lost a lot of things over me, and I just want to make sure she's okay. You know, I don't call her. I sometimes will talk about me, but I ask her how she's doing. You know, I'm really good at calling her while she's working, and it's hard to talk to her.
Time difference, you know, we forget sometimes.
But yeah, I mean, my relationship with my family,
that's really, Kobe, that's just some good stuff, because you share, like, to go from like the little kid that was isolating, wouldn't come out of his room, and just going from the getting the cops showing up when you're 13, 14, 15 years old because you're drinking and being a belligerent at a party, to going to rehab when you're 17 years old, to going to rehab again when you're 21, 22, to going to rehab this time around. This is a lot of stuff, we put on other people. And I know you had a lot of stuff that you were carrying yourself from your own stuff, but to watch the healing process happen within this family is like the reason why people like me and some of the counselors on the thread and the rest of our staff, it's the reason why we show up to work every day. Because when you show up, like this moment right here is what I see, what I envision. Even though I'd never met your mom before, I've never, didn't know who you are. Everybody that comes through the doors of like Buckeye, I see them and their mom being able to talk about a healing journey. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't do what I do. You know what I mean? So you guys are a manifestation of what's possible in recovery, despite of relapsing, obviously, despite of attempting this a few times, and this was really cool. So Kobe, just say a few things about yourself too, about what's different for you. And I'm going to just post a few comments so you guys can read them.
Okay. So what's different about me, I moved to California. I was in the lockdown of COVID, so that taught me money management. Now I can actually manage my money. I don't have to call my mom every day or every week to ask for money. I will never do that again in my life. I made that a very big point to me, that I'm not dependent on my mother anymore. I lost 123 pounds. I changed everything. That's one thing they tell you to do, is change everything. And that's what I did. Now I work on my body every single day, except the weekends. Those are my days off from the gym. I go golfing instead. So I do something I enjoy. I'm actually going to go golfing after this, but yeah, I just try to be the best person in any situation. It doesn't matter. Actions speak louder than words. I'll show up for anything. And my mom asks me for advice, which she does now sometimes. And it's crazy because I used to ask her for advice. I will give it. My family contacts me. That's all I could ask for. I don't need all the money in the world. I don't need the nicest cars, the nicest clothes. I just want peace and serenity within myself to show my family that I'm all right. That's right. Because my biggest fear is not letting my mom see me succeed. And on the point that I am today, I hopefully will be successful in anything that I do.
You already are, man. You already are. If that goal of success is, if you want your mom to see you successful, you just continue talking the way you just talked right now. And I promise you, mom will be lit up from the inside, So here, Kobe, here's a question for you from a father. It says, hey, thank you guys for sharing. This question's for Kobe. My son is 20, so it's a young guy, previous version of Kobe. 5 years in and out of recovery, so started when he was 15. Currently a few weeks sober, and is saying hopefully doing the right things. However, I just don't trust him. So this is like the father saying, I don't trust my kid. Amy, this can actually be for you too. Any advice for how a dad, or let's just say a mom, can be supportive? So the history isn't that good. And the kid's saying I'm doing okay now, but the family's having a hard time trusting. What would you guys say?
For me, you gotta, my mom tells me this all the time, you gotta let your son leave the nest a little bit. And for me, it's just like I just said, actions speak louder than words. I know it's hard to not trust your own kin. My mom didn't trust me for a very long time. But today, I guess I just prove it to her. There's always actions you can take. Like my mom mentioned, Al-Anon. Al-Anon will teach you a lot of those things when your son's going through addiction, daughter, whatever it is. If that's what I would suggest.
Amy, how long did it take for you to begin trusting the words that Kobe is saying?
Oh my goodness. I think probably within the last year.
Okay.
Not at all until the last year. And that's so hard, right? Because as parents, we just want to trust our kids. You know, we want to trust them. And experience has shown you just can't. And that's it's such a struggle. It really is hard inside. I went back and forth with myself inside all the time. Like I said, I was constantly, I know I was on him. I know I was on him. Where are you going? What are you doing? I didn't trust him with his own sobriety. And it took me a long time to get to where I did trust him. It is one of the hardest things as a parent. And I wish I could tell you how long it will take before you feel like you can. I really wish I could, but I can't. It's individual for each person. And you know what I did? I prayed every day, and I had to give it to God because I couldn't do it on my own. There was no way I could do it on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm putting something here. I'm trying to type something as fast as I can. Let's see if I could do this. That right there, my friends, I just typed that in. Trust equals committed and consistent actions over time. Okay? That's the formula for building trust. The over time part is the most important factor here. Committed and consistent actions, anyone can do them for a week or 2 weeks in your case, Dan, for your son at the time. But over time, you have to establish what that means. Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 9 months? And you have to watch if the actions are committed and consistent over that time frame. If they are, trust can start creeping back in a little bit.
Exactly. Takes time.
I like that. I like that for sure.
Yeah. A lot of people just saying, you know, some of these people you guys might know, some of you might not. Way to fight the good fight, Amy and Kobe. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, Tom.
Stephanie here. Thank you for sharing your story. All stories are different, yet they are the same. Stephanie, if you hear me, I'm getting you and Casey on this thing here pretty soon. So just mark my words. I think this might be your sister because she writes some really nice things.
It is
sitting here bawling with such pride, listening to you speak. Kobe, those balls are, by the way, called happy tears. It's a completely different. Happy tears and sad tears, actually, their chemistry is different too. By the way, they're made up completely differently. They're molecules, so they can't express the amazement. So you're shocking the world, Kobe. I can hear new things coming out from you, and you are really healed. So that's by the way, for the Julies of the world, when you see a transformation in people, it means they put a lot of work into it. Nothing like this just happens on its own. People just don't go from the Kobe that you remember, that the family gatherings, to this Kobe.
If I wanted to do it on my own, I wouldn't be sitting here on Facebook Live with you guys right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Taylor, which is one of our alumni too, wrote, "This is so powerful. Glad she was on today." I'm sure you know her. Jeremy, let's see. We are this is a CFO of our company, Buckeye Recovery Network. We are better because you came back, Kobe. Thrilled that you did. I'm proud of you, and thank you so much, Amy, for sharing so eloquently you and Kobe's story. So,
I do. Can I say one thing though, too?
100%.
As a parent, I do want to say how important it is to know that your loved one that your child is in a supportive group of people who love them and want the same for them that you do. So the experience that we've had having Kobe with your groups out there, I can't even, it's very hard to put it in words because I know that he's with people that love him and care about him and want the best for him, just like all of us do. That makes such a huge difference. And it makes the fact that he's so far away a little bit easier to handle. I've never met any of you people in person. I've talked to many of you on the phone. Hopefully I will be able to one day and give you a hug. And thank you for taking care and helping my son.
It's our pleasure. It's here's the one that's made one of the biggest impacts on Kobe. Helped him with trust issues for sure. Counselor Jim, man, he said Kobe has worked through some major issues since coming to BRN, and the result is obvious. I don't know if those are like little sword fighters or whatever those emojis
I think they are.
I don't know what you guys do in group up there, bro, but whatever you guys did, good job. We got Mr. Julian. Julian's one of our staff members, wrote, "The growth you've gone through has been exponentially. You're a miracle. It's a pleasure watching you grow into the man you are today." I know this mom has been watching. She's newer. Thank you so much for your candid sharing. Very inspirational. It's beautiful, man. It's like there's so many people. You guys can go back and read the comments later if you want. This one might be someone that you guys are tied to here.
That's my Aunt Alicia that I mentioned.
There you go. Love you both so very much. It's incredible to see how far you've come, Kobe, seeing you so healthy and thriving in the incredible life you have created for yourself. It's so incredibly exciting. We love you so much. It's just such good stuff. You know, this is someone else. I got a program participant going through our program. I appreciate Kobe and this mom sharing their story. Helped me out so much. We felt we have so much similarities. A thank you to me, which is really nice. And thank you guys. Counselor Tony's here. This is a family disease, and it's great to watch the family heal also. Damn right it is, Tony. That's why we do it. You know, just some shout outs here to Buckeye Recovery Network, Ohio House. We're doing the best we can. So I want to thank you guys. It's that time right now. How beautiful, wonderful was this? Everybody else that left comments, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that watch this on repeat actually, because this is on our page, and your story, even though we just shared it in 50 minutes, is going to be replayed a bunch of times for so many people. And I want to thank you both for your time, Amy and Kobe. And feel free to share this link with anybody you want. If you want anyone to watch it, feel free to. I'm always available. This was wonderful. Have a wonderful weekend, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.